Broadcasting to you on WNN 1470 AM and TrentoVision.tv from the world's leading think tank laboratory, buried deep in an undisclosed building in hostile territory where evil and corruption is exposed. You're about to enter the Tom Trento Show.
All hands back at battle station.
Tom Trento heads United West, a group that says it defends Western civilization against the onslaught of Islam.
And we do a lot more than that. We're here to be public service announcers. And our announcement right now for all of you people driving on I-95 in South Florida, for all of you all over Florida, from North Miami all the way to South Orlando, only 9 days till Christmas. And for you guys, get out there and buy your girlfriends and your wives and whomever something, or you're going to regret it. And if you regret it, don't say I didn't tell you so. So 9 days till Christmas. Welcome aboard, everybody. Tom Trento here on the 16th, Monday, the 16th of December. Once again, hope everybody had a wonderful weekend. We'll tell you about our weekend shortly, but we have a guest on a tight schedule and an individual that has spent his life, speaking of public service, spent his life as a public servant, for many years a prosecutor. Do we have our special guest?
Yes, we do.
Many years a prosecutor in the Southern District of New York City. Federal prosecutor, putting the bad guys in the Gray House, the Gray Bar Hotel, and some significant ones. And from there has gone on to excel at the art of putting ink on paper and communicating thoughts so efficiently and effectively that lives are impacted worldwide. Author of several books. We may get into that. But also the author, just a couple of days ago, of an article, National Review, where he writes, the author of an article that is one of these third rail issues. And our special guest wrote an insightful article that's a clear-thinking, non-muddied view of the Mother Teresa of South Africa, Nelson Mandela. And in fact, he isn't a Mother Teresa. But let's give a TrentoVision round of applause to our special guest, Mr. Andrew McCarthy. Andy.
Hey guys, how are you?
Doing well down here in South Florida. I'm a Jersey boy. I grew up in Newark, Andy. What's the temperature right now in Newark, New Jersey?
The temperature, Tom, or the wind chill temperature?
Give us the wind chill. We want it horrible.
We want wind official weather report.
We're about 15 here with the wind chill.
That's 15. That's 1-5.
Yeah. But by the way, today is 48 days from Super Bowl 48, which we'll be having in just those kind of conditions, no doubt. Oh,
that's right. It's in Jersey this year. That's right.
Yeah.
I remember the first. I was a little tiny kid. I remember the first Super Bowl. I think it was the Packers, wasn't it?
Green Bay and was it Oakland? Oakland the first time, and then Kansas City. I get them confused.
Oakland, Kansas City, yeah.
Was it Oakland, Kansas City? No, it was Green Bay.
Green Bay, Kansas City.
Yeah.
They beat Oakland one year and Kansas City the other.
Okay,
I forget.
right.
And then the Jets won the third one, but the first
I remember that one. I was a Colt fan all my life, and this wise guy from Alabama makes these claims. I said, "There's no way, Johnny, you will nail him." Unbelievable.
Did you lay the 18, Tom?
No, no. I was even a young. Well, I think I was playing around in my Newark days up then. In that game, 68. I think that was 69, wasn't it?
69.
69. Yeah, 1969. You know, Joe Namath lives almost within walking distance of where we are right now, not too far from where we are. He pops up every once in a while. But you had a very insightful article on National Review about Nelson Mandela, and the title, Andy, is remembering Mandela without rose-colored glasses. At the outset, I said this whole Mandela thing was really a third rail. You step on that, you get electrocuted. What made you sit down and say, I gotta deal with this and kind of strip away the layers here?
Well, I think what disturbed me the most, Tom, is that the modern conservative movement did not come up as a sort of a liberty movement in a vacuum. It came up as a liberty movement in the very concrete context of anti-communism. And I think if it continues to stand for anything on the national security side, it has to be that. And Mandela was on the wrong side of that for decades. Now, I don't want to detract from any of his legitimate accomplishments, but in a divide where there are the liberty side of the house and the totalitarian side of the house, he was on the wrong side of that divide.
Yeah, and the hagiography here, the sainthood bestowed upon him, was very distressful to me, and we broached the issue, we dealt with it, but we're kind of uncensored, unfiltered here, and we just can't say these 7 bad words. We basically can say everything else. And
well, I would just say that to people that have a look at modern South Africa, which is the real legacy of Mandela. Let's not just talk pie in the sky. Give him his due, because I think essentially his due seems to be that he could have been worse, and that expectations for him when he came to power were for precisely that, to take South Africa in a rapid revolutionary direction. He didn't do that, but the trend lines in terms of collectivist, totalitarian, one-party government and what that country has become, which is to slide from a first world to a third world basket case, are not, and this is my main point, it's not about race, which is the context that we're implored to see Mandela in again and again. It's about ideology. He was, for his entire influential political life, a Marxist. And when he got out and when he came to power in South Africa, while he didn't move the country immediately into the sort of Fidel Castro direction, he much admired Fidel Castro and much admired other leftist dictator leaders. And I don't think that there's any doubt why it is that with that ideology as its kind of trailblazing force, we have a look at where South Africa is today, which is just a catastrophe.
Yeah, I want to get into that a little bit, let's take one step back. The article you've written, if anybody wants to see it, it's in National Review online, Remembering Mandela Without Rose-Colored Glasses, and you should see it. You need to read this. It's one of these articles when a conservative takes a clear, dispassionate, analytical view, factual view of an emotional issue, the immediate leftist response is a knee-jerk, you're an effing racist, How many you're an effing racist letters have you received so far?
I think it's a lot, but, I've long ago, probably the same way you have, Tom, I've long ago stopped paying attention to that stuff because, what this kind of reminds me of, remember Alex Karras, the great football player, right?
A great actor. I think he was an actor, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was an actor.
But
Blazing
among
Saddles.
his many credits was that he was an announcer on Monday Night Football.
Yep.
And I remember he was a very funny guy. And one of the things he said one night on one of the broadcasts was, if you're going to go off sides and get the 5 yards anyway, you might as well clock the quarterback while you're. And I kind of feel that way about politics. It seems to me that anything a conservative does to try to inch things, not move things, inch things in a conservative direction, brings down all this sky is falling demagogic rhetoric from the left. So my attitude about it is, why pay any attention to it at all? We should try to say things the way they are and move things to the place where we want them to be. That doesn't absolve us of the obligation to have strong support for our positions. But I don't think you should be afraid to say things because the left is going to say nasty things, because the left is going to say nasty things no matter what you say.
And ladies and gentlemen, we want you to take that home today. But right now, CJ, come on, let's bring CJ in. CJ has a question for Andrew McCarthy.
Oh my gosh, hi, good to see you
That's just
again.
Hi, CJ.
Is my mic on?
No.
No?
Okay.
Yeah, I'm on now.
Okay.
Okay, there you go.
Thank you, thank you. Really, really great article, Andy. I'm wondering, can you read for us the opening sentence of your article?
Oh,
Because I'm not sure how to pronounce that.
Yeah, I can't. I wouldn't know how to pronounce
You
it
don't
if
know
I
how
had
to pronounce
front
it either? Okay, I'll just read the translation then.
Let me read it because your mic is.
And for people who are interested in this, I did put a link in there, CJ, so they can actually go to the tape and see Mandela sing the song.
Right.
Yeah, it says, "Go safely, Kahanto Wisizwi. We, the members of Kamato, have pledged ourselves to kill them. Kill the whites." These are the lyrics from the anthem of Kahunto Wisize, or the Spear of the Nation.
Right, and that's the MK, which much easier for us to pronounce, right, Tom? The MK.
That's right, yeah.
Right.
But the MK is the militant or terrorist division of the African National Congress, which was established by Nelson Mandela and another guy who is depicted in that link singing along Mandela, and that's Ronnie Kasrils, who was a Soviet-trained communist.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
And the ANC, we're having a little trouble with CJ's mic. We're getting that sorted out. The ANC, the African National Council, Congress. I'm sorry. When you read about it, it states that it is a leftist, a socialist. It avoids the term Marxist, but is it a doctrinaire Marxist organization?
Yeah, it absolutely is, and it was also, like most Marxist movements of the era, dominated by Soviet communism, dominated by Soviet agents, a lot of sort of cross-pollination between that particular communist movement and the communist leadership in the Soviet Union.
Then Andy, help us understand. You had the horrible situation of true apartheid, which is a brutal separation and segregation of the races, completely obscene. And then the breakdown of that, and Mandela comes out of prison. He was in prison because he was a terrorist. And the ANC, as I understand it, wasn't removed from the State Department's designated terrorist organization status until, I think, 2008, just a few years ago. Is that correct?
That's right. In order to give Mandela the Presidential Medal of Freedom in 2002, the Bush administration had to waive the restrictions against letting terrorists in the country because the ANC was still on the terrorist list, as was Mandela.
Oh boy! All right, then here's the part we're struggling with. If Mandela was a terrorist and went to jail for terrorism and then got out, and if the country now being led by his organization essentially is a absolute disaster, I think you referred to it as dystopia, bad juju. Why has the world come around him and really honored him as some sort of a saint-like figure? I'm having a hard time with that.
Well, I think mainly, certainly in the West and certainly in the United States, it's over race, because for whatever else you can say about Mandela, his movement did at least target institutionalized racism, which, as you just pointed out, we're all abhorred by. His legacy is going to be seen in that light because of the way that it towers over a lot of our discussion. And I think as a result of that, it also overwhelms the rest of his legacy, which, by the way, people in the West don't have a big problem with, which is this sort of aspirational Marxism as opposed to the concrete Soviet variety. So in the West, there's no real rejection of the Marxist ideology. In many ways, it was never, as Diana Westbrook points out, it was never called to account. There's never been a reckoning of it. There's never been anyone who has done the sort of thing that we've tried to do with radical Islam, which is establish the straight line nexus between the ideology and all the carnage. That's never been done with communism. So in connection with Mandela, I think you have two things. You have, number one, the fact that he was a crusader against something we all agree was evil, which is this institutionalized racism. And secondly, the fact that, he was a superstar in the pantheon of the left, which, to those of us who love freedom is a big problem, but to most of the intelligentsia in the West is not a big problem.
Yeah, Andy, we know you got to go, and we were just rolling some B-roll as you were speaking. Mandela's with every deadbeat, low-life dictator who hates America. He's hugging and kissing. But CJ has a question for you, then we'll let you go.
Yeah, I think it's kind of interesting
Oh,
when we're...
no, your mic's not good. Here, use my mic.
Okay.
I think it's kind of interesting when we're looking through the B-roll over here. President Obama actually admires the same people. These are the people he admires. These are the world leaders he embraces. These are the movements he embraces. So there's a lot in common there. I think also it's very interesting, and this is, I'm wondering if Andy could tie it together here. It's okay to be racist, to say kill the whites. You get a pass on that if you're black. In the same way that it's okay if you're Arab or Palestinian or Iranian to say kill the Jews. The world gives you a pass, the left gives you a pass. What's the connection there?
Well, I think the connection is this: with respect to revolutionary movements that are either of the left or that work with the left, those expressions are rationalized as political, us versus them, us versus the power structure, and you're not supposed to hear Jew or white. You're supposed to hear it's the haves, and this is the revolution of the have-nots, and that's the way you're supposed to understand it. And if that blinks reality, well, then it blinks reality. But a lot of our current dialogue, and you see it in every single political issue, whether we're talking about Mandela or Obamacare or anything else, logic goes out the window, and a lot of this becomes us against them.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you take the have and have not meme, that goes right through now Saul Alinsky, right to President Obama, who was a trainer for Saul Alinsky. So we're going to have to let him go.
I just want to do you have a new book out, Andrew? Or do
I have a book that's been out for about a year called Spring Fever, The Illusion of Islamic Democracy. And if people are interested in following my rantings, I have a website, andrewcmccarthy.com, or you can usually get my stuff on National Review Online.
Well, excellent.
All right, why don't you take 30 seconds and share whatever you want to the audience, our viewers and listeners. We're on the radio in South Florida, large area, and all over the world on the internet. What's your concluding thought on the 16th of December at 20 minutes after 3 o'clock on the East Coast?
Well, I'm grateful for the opportunity to speak to you all today, and I think that at this point we actually get to settle into what's important, which is our families and our communities. It's that time of year, and I think we should embrace that. But we're going to need to come back strong next year because there are a lot of things on the table. Obamacare is probably the most prominent among them, but an awful lot of things that are going to affect what kind of country we're going to be going forward. So my advice to everyone, I'm going to try to take it myself, is to recharge your batteries these next couple of weeks because we're going to need everyone.
All right, sounds good. Andy McCarthy, thank you. God bless you, and have a good time with your family. We'll see you now.
Thank you, Andy.
Take care. Bye-bye. All right, Andy McCarthy, folks, at 21 minutes 21 minutes after 3 o'clock on the East Coast. And this thing is not working properly. It's giving me a reverb and a
That's fine.
back feed and all kinds of other things. Well, I'm going to put it in the middle. We're going to have to share it.
1 second.
Or you're trying to fix it.
I'll fix it.
All right, here's what we got next. I had a little segment. Andy stayed with us a little longer than we thought he was able to. It's making a lot of noise, that thing, so it is working.
There, that one's working. Okay. We're going to flip that one out. Let's swap that mic out.
We've only done 600 shows, and we'll figure this out at some point. We'll figure this out at some point. Yeah, he stayed a little longer than we thought, which was good. I had a really horrendous video. I was going to show with the Winnie Mandela, Nelson Mandela's wife, who's just a lunatic, and her necklacing, using tires to kill any opponent of hers, whatever color, just a vicious, horrible woman. They got divorced. They really had no relationship. But we're not going to do that because we got two other wonderful guests, and we got to bring in the next guest, as the next guest isn't there yet. Can't possibly be there because the guest finder is not there. So, CJ, how are you doing?
Well,
I'm going to be doing great in a couple of minutes, I think. It was really good to see Andy. I read everything he writes. He's absolutely the voice of sanity for me.
Okay, there's your new microphone.
Okay.
There's your new microphone. Yeah, Andy McCarthy is he's one of the authors of Team B2, the book that I'm one of the authors of, back there somewhere.
Yeah, one of those Team B2 bookies.
And he has a phenomenal background. His book, Grand Jihad, lays out essentially the Grand Jihad, global jihad worldwide. And he's one of these guys, not only do, like you, I read everything he writes, because he has such insight and such wisdom. Well, he's a federal prosecutor for so many years. But beyond that, he's a very clear thinker, and he's a man of faith. He's a very serious Catholic. And understands the role of faith in public policy and the separation of the church from public policy. He understands all of that. And he's been around the block a few times. So not only do I read whatever he writes, but on Team B2, we have a sort of a colloquy. There's all the authors, and we're writing all the time, back and forth, and he weighs in, and he has some fascinating conversations with David Yerushalmi, whatever. David, whatever your name is, we love you. But you ready yet?
Yeah.
Am I ready yet?
I don't know. But let's bring our next guest in while we're sorting that out. Doesn't sound ready. Nope, you're not ready yet.
No, I have you off. So.
That's okay. Go ahead, see if you're on.
Am
there.
I on?
Ah,
Oh, here I
CJ
am.
is now with
Welcome to
us.
the show at
Yes.
24 after the hour.
So our next guest is Jimmy Bond from California, I believe, right?
Yep. Is this the real James Bond or not?
It's Jimmy Bond. It's a
It's his brother.
It's a relationship. We can't explain in detail all this intel. Okay, we're just gonna let Jimmy talk, and we have some video ready when Jimmy talks.
Yeah, in a minute.
Okay.
Okay.
Jimmy, how are you?
Doing real well, Tom. How about yourself?
Good. And without getting into the details too much about who you are, what you do, Jimmy Bond, you've been working with the United West for many years. You're part of our West Coast crew, the West Coast crew out there. You've been a counter-jihad hunter, warrior, going and visiting all these different events and smashing heads with these folks, ideologically speaking. Tell us what took place this weekend and give us a report on MPAC, the Muslim Public Affairs Council. Who are they, and why did you go to their little soiree?
All right, sure. They had their annual convention in Long Beach this year. I'd say between 200, 250 people showed up. MPAC is like their name says, their public arm for dealing with public policy, dealing with elected officials, etc., trying to implement any time they have the opportunity their own Muslim Brotherhood people into elected positions or government agencies. And once a year they have a convention. And so this year they held it in Long Beach. And I must say, over the last few years, the tone of their speakers and the topics that they speak on is really watered down. By that I mean you don't see a Siraj Wahhaj up on the stage speaking and telling everybody America is nothing but a garbage can, or a Malek Ali going up and damning Jews that live in America and Jews in Israel. That doesn't happen anymore. They really watered it down. And the reason I think for that is because of organizations like yourself, the United West, Andy McCarthy, John Guandolo. They're really feeling the effects the last couple of years of the pushback your organizations are doing. So they're having to appeal in a different way to people that they're a friendly, loving, caring organization. For example, one of the...
Well, hang on one second. I want to comment on that. We did a show on Friday, wasn't it, guys, about the MPAC's Declaration on Extremism? Jimmy Bond, did this declaration that they presented Friday have anything to do with the convention?
No, it didn't come up at all at the convention.
Really?
Nobody spoke about it. And they really did a good job of burying it way down in their website. They don't want a lot of people to see it, but they want it there so they can pull it up at will when they want to discuss it. But that wasn't talked about at all at the convention.
That's shocking, CJ.
No, it is. Yeah.
What do you make out of that?
Well, I think politically it was something that they had to do. And like our guest is saying, they want to be able to trot it out when they want to trot it out. They don't want to offend any of their own. And it's very hard for them to explain to their own people, look, we don't really believe any of this, but, we live in the United States.
We got to write this crap.
And we got to write this stuff. We got to put it on the website. And they probably, the extremists probably had their way with their convention and said, we're not talking about this in public.
I mean, just look at the author. Look who the author of this Declaration Against Extremism is.
Well,
Hathout is a terrorist.
I think our Jimmy Bond, you've talked to Mayor Hathout, right? Haven't you?
Right, yes. Several times in the past.
Yeah, what is he like?
When you talk to somebody like a Mayor Hathout or a Salam al-Mariyati, my nickname for him is Salam the Snake al-Mariyati, you've got to understand their language. And I think John Guandolo said it best, the language of the jihadi. So that when in for example, their declaration on extremism, when they talk about justice, what they're really saying is justice provided to people living under Islamic law.
Exactly.
Okay, when they're talking about innocent people, we don't believe in terrorism on innocent people. Innocent people to the jihadi or the Muslim Brotherhood operative are only Muslims that are living under Sharia law.
Exactly.
Those are the only innocent people. So there's a lot of language in that document that you got to understand what they're really talking about.
All right, well, at 3:30 in the afternoon on the East Coast on December 16th, folks, Tom Trento, CJ, Mark Damon. Abdullah, are you here?
I am here.
Oh, how was your weekend, Imam Abdullah?
It was most fantastic. And yours, Trento?
None of your business, okay? In any event, on the 3:30 in the afternoon on a beautiful Monday in South Florida, we have Jimmy Bond on.
Another one of your Islamophobic friends, Tom.
Let's just say he's a truth seeker, okay?
A truth seeker.
And a jihadi warrior, okay? Jimmy Bond is with us. He has done a lot of stuff on the West Coast, and he went to MPAC, Muslim Public Affairs Council's National Convention. How many people? About 200, 250 people or so? And a half a dozen or so probably non-Muslim people. And anybody give you a hard time or anything?
I didn't see any burqas. And most of the men, men weren't wearing robes. They were all dressed in suits or a sports shirt and slacks. So
this is the new brotherhood.
The new brotherhood, yeah.
That attends the MPAC events.
The way that CARE has been under the microscope for the last couple of years, and who knows what kind of shakedowns are going to happen over there, what they're going to nab them for, all their IRS shenanigans and everything else. If CARE goes down, somebody else has to be positioned to take over as the voice of moderate Muslims in the United States. It looks to me like maybe MPAC is positioning itself as the moderate voice.
The moderate voice?
The moderate voice for Muslims.
Well,
in America.
then I have a question for Jimmy Bond here. You have MPAC, which is based in Los Angeles, I believe, and they're very involved with Hollywood, and I know that personally from a run-in we had with them over Obsession. I'll tell you about that later. But you also have Mr. Alush, the head of CARE in Southern California.
Right.
Does Alush get along with the snake Al-Mariati?
It doesn't appear to be so, because neither one of them attend events of the other organization. And I was on the lookout to see if Tom Alush was there Saturday, and I did not even see him.
Oh, he should be. I mean, this is the top guy in CARE.
That attends the MPAC conventions.
Wow. Well, hey, Jimmy Bond, we have some footage from that. We secured some footage. Were cameras allowed into this event?
No, there was tight security all around the event. You had to go through metal detectors and be tapped down if they detected anything on you. So I did my best to get my camera in there and to provide you some footage of the main reason why I went was the last session. Okay, is there a future for political Islam? And as you know, Dr. John Esposito was one of the featured speakers. So
lovely man.
Yes, he is. So that's the main reason I wanted to get that camera in there, just to see what Dr. Esposito had to say.
All right, well, we're going to show a little footage here for a minute or two, and you can hear it. You're not going to be able to see it at this point. Not yet. But Esposito is the... is Esposito a Muslim? I mean, we have a hard time trying to get an answer to that question. Anybody know?
He probably goes to the same mosque as John Brennan.
Yeah, I think he's a stealth Muslim. He's certainly he's more than a sympathizer.
And Grover Norquist.
They're apologists for Islam. He teaches at Georgetown, I believe, at the chair that's funded by Alwid bin Talal, the prince over in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. So they got this whole little clique going on, and he's going to give a definitive statement. That's why you went on the future of political Islam, which we call Islam. That's what this was about.
Could you imagine having
No, I can't.
An event that is labeled the future of political Christianity?
Yeah.
Gosh, good luck with that.
All right, well, let's see what we have by way of video. And now I'll give you a second chance to deny you had anything to do with this video. Do you want to deny any knowledge of how this video got to us?
I have no idea.
Okay.
I can't even see the video.
Okay, well, here we go. Let's roll it. Here's Esposito.
To contribute to the Espositos. But the topic, it's very interesting when you said it. For some people, the idea of talking about Islamic movements and particularly thinking about them as being somewhat proximate in terms of coming to power was neither believed by most Islamic movements.
Okay, let's do this
Certainly not by entrenched authority.
Because in all these years, let's cut Esposito. All these years of being a public speaker, he doesn't know how to hold a microphone. He's got the microphone a foot away from his mouth.
Right.
And the woman who introduced him was holding it properly. You can hear her very clearly.
Right.
But that's very, very hard to hear for our radio audience because it's going through our television stuff.
Our transcription department has not yet transcribed that for you.
They're on strike.
I can tell you approximately what he said. He said, you have nothing to fear from Islam. Islam is a very peaceful religion. Stick your head back in the sand as we ruin your country with your own hands. Have a good day.
I think you got it right on, Imam Abdullah.
Nailed it.
Well, you were there, Jimmy Bond. What's his message? Give us the gist of his message. Dr. John Esposito, apologist. Apologist means a defender of, an apologist for Islam.
Right. You know, that was the first time I had met Dr. Esposito, and he's a pretty laid-back, soft-spoken individual. But I think his message tied in with the rest of the presenters. One of his thoughts and what he expressed were that young folks, this is a quote from him, young folks don't want anything to do with Islam. And that kind of focused around his talk and what he had to say. And it tied in with earlier on in the session, they even had a couple of hip-hop artists up there that actually performed and talked about reaching out to the young crowd. You know, American hip-hop supposedly is the number one thing overseas in many different foreign countries. And if the Muslim community here in America wants to reach out to the young Muslims, then they've got to start performing and being
yes, we use as a recruiting tool.
In particular.
Is recruiting tool.
Yes.
Exactly. Yes. Yes.
And also,
they're
I
very
think it's
concerned about the young Muslim population here in America is getting away from Islam. They're leaving Islam. You know, they become westernized. They'd rather listen to their music or go to a movie as opposed to go in the mosque when they should be.
well, and I
So
think
they're very concerned about that.
And I think what's quite interesting with people like, Mr. Esposito here, it's a tactic of the Islamist, of the people who follow the faith diligently, to get people who are not Islamic to take the heat and be the spokesperson. I mean, these people are nothing but stooges for them to use and abuse. And even though he's too stupid to realize it, he gets out there and becomes a spokesperson. So now when people attack, they stop attacking the source, they start attacking Esposito. And this willing stooge type of tactic, is when they go to what I'm trying to say is when they go to these community outreach, these interfaith dialogue discussions, their whole purpose is to get stooges like John Esposito to start talking good about terrorism. And is that what you find there all the time at these events? Jimmy?
Yes, you're right. You're right. You know, to give you an example, a specific example, one of the speakers at the event, her name was Samia El Moslemini. She lives both here in the U.S. and in Saudi Arabia. They put her up there to tell the public how nice and peaceful and loving Islam is. She's going through a divorce in Saudi Arabia. Okay, she was married to a Saudi Arabian, and then he decided to have a little side thing going on with another woman who he later decided to marry. And so his first wife, Samia, decided, hey, I want out of this. I don't want anything to do with another woman in my marriage. Well, she got up there and said, right now she's going through court, and the magistrates in Saudi Arabia are very willing to listen to a woman's point of view.
Yeah, sure.
So she's up there trying to say, hey, all this stuff you Westerners have read about Sharia, it's not true. They're listening to me in court. It's not, strict Sharia where I don't get anything from the divorce and I'm kicked out of the house and out in the desert on my own. So it's very obvious why they put her up there, to show how nice Saudi Arabia really is.
Was there any media for this event? Because I checked the comments for the event on the MPAC, Muslim Public Affairs Council. And for those of you just tuning in at 40 minutes after 3 o'clock on a absolutely beautiful Monday afternoon, December 16th on WNN 1470 on your AM dial, or if you're watching us on theunitedwest.org, or if you're watching us on teapartycommunity.com, or if you're watching us on TrentoVision.tv, or whatever, or if you're listening where could they listen?
On WNN 1470 AM.
And where else?
And on your smartphone. Or
Heart.
other smart device with your iHeart
There you
Radio
go.
app.
iHeartRadio.
You can listen
Now you're acting like me on
everywhere in the world.
Now you're acting like me on camera, Tom. Now we're going to kick you off.
No, I'm acting like the interpreter. Did you see Saturday Night Live? Did you see Saturday Night Live?
No, I did not.
No.
They did the opening sketch of The Interpreter with Obama. It is classic.
Is it really?
It's absolutely classic. Yeah.
Racist.
We'll show it.
Absolutely racist.
But the question I did have for Jimmy Bond was that I saw no comments whatsoever, and it's Sunday now, so it's Monday, a couple of days removed. Was there any media, any outside mainstream media covering this event?
Now that you mention it, I did not see any. They had their own people. I guess they broadcast it live on the, had a webcast broadcast of it live. But I didn't see any reporters from the major media networks out here. I didn't see anybody getting interviewed. And I never thought about it until you brought it up. But I don't think there was any media there at this event.
I bet you, who wants to bet? I bet you President Obama did something with this thing.
Yeah,
Oh, of course he
did.
did.
He
He
had.
wished him well at 25 years old.
He what?
He wished him well at 25 years old.
Oh, it was their 25th anniversary?
He sent them a congratulations letter, which they read at the convention.
So MPAC, it's taking its origin back to when?
25 years ago. Do the
So,
math.
80,
88.
88?
Skady-8.
And well, I have a basic question. Why does all this stuff out in California, how does that affect us here in Florida, and why should we care? I mean, so what? They get together.
Yeah,
they
why are we
do it.
talking to you, Jimmy Bond?
Yeah, what's so important about California that it concerns us here in Florida and around the country?
Okay, well, MPAC, for example, is a national organization, and their national headquarters are here in Los Angeles. So this is where they're working around the clock on public policy and getting, Muslim people elected into public positions.
Aha!
So they're setting policy for the entire nation, not just California, but across to the other side, you guys out there on the East Coast.
Yeah, and do they have any people that lobby from MPAC in Washington or any other spokespeople out there for them?
Yes, they do. They have another office in Washington, D.C., where I'm sure they're up on Capitol Hill every day of the week lobbying different senators and congressmen and probably even Obama. Like you said earlier, King Obama even sent in a letter, and Salam al-Mariyati, who's the head of MPAC, started off the convention by reading that letter, from King Obama.
Now, how
I call him Emperor.
I call him
We got
Khalifa
about 1
Obama.
minute.
Khalifa Obama.
How closely linked is MPAC to the Islamic Center of Southern California? Is there any relationship in that?
Yes, exactly. Yes, there is. Hatout, Mayor Hatout, who I guess is on his deathbed, he was supposed to show up at the dinner. I didn't stay around for the dinner. I decided to come home and eat some food that I knew was well cooked or wasn't dabbled with too much.
Haram.
But in any event, yeah, the Islamic Center of Southern California was started by Dr. Mayor Hatout, and from there, after that, him and some other of his buddies, Muslim Brotherhood friends from Egypt, started up MPAC.
Oh, Impact. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. All right. Well, we got a whole network of these Muslim Brotherhood organizations. My very quick story on MPAC when they got on my radar, 2008 election. Remember Obsession? When we did the 30 million, we had Howard Gordon do a testimonial right on the front cover. Howard Gordon wrote, you got to watch this movie, great movie. And Howard Gordon, for those who don't remember, Howard Gordon is the executive producer of a very cool show back then, 24. If you remember the show 24, everything
Right.
happened in 24 hours, Jack Bauer. Well, when we released Obsession in our waves to stimulate a national discussion on national security, MPAC went nuts, and they formed a press conference in Los Angeles and got Baca and Mike Downing and all the cops together, and they got Howard Gordon to appear at the press conference and to condemn the movie that he had endorsed, and to condemn what we were doing with the movie, and demand that his name be taken off. It was too late. His name got printed out.
Yeah, right.
Only 30 million, Howard. But when I saw that, I said, these guys are controlling Hollywood.
Yeah.
And if you noticed right after that, 2008,
The Jews control Hollywood.
I forgot. If you notice right after that, there were no longer any Muslim terrorists on 24. They were
Yeah.
all like Nazi terrorists.
Yeah, the
Some-
IRA and
Yeah,
everybody
some
else like that,
Nazi
yeah.
IRA mafioso configured terrorist that does a cartoon terrorist. But what a world we're in. Hey, Jimmy Bond, thank you. We got to let you go right now. Keep up
Thank you, Jimmy.
your good work.
Okay.
I don't know
Good
how.
being with you. Keep up the good work all of you continue to do, and I think we're having an impact on these Muslim
Amen.
Brotherhood organizations.
We're having an MPAC.
Oh, yeah. We're kicking jihad butt. That's for sure.
right.
All right, Jimmy, take it
job.
easy.
Good job.
Good job.
I don't know how he does it. I don't know how you guys do it when you go to the mosques and you sit down and you have lunch with these people and you just listen to the garbage. I don't know how you do it.
Well, when we were in California a year or two ago, doing we shot the video about Deputy Chief Michael Downing, support of the Muslim Brotherhood. One of those, I think it was that same weekend, the mosque was having a dinner, a luncheon, and we went. And and what we decided, Claire Lopez was with us.
Right.
There was about 5 or 6 of us. We decided to spread out one per table. So each one of us is at a table. Each one of us is at a table, and all of a sudden, not all of a sudden, but as people are walking in and sitting down, you can see their eyes going like this.
Like, uh-oh. Oh, no, can't sit there, can't sit there,
Just
can't sit
zeroing in
there.
on us. But we just said, screw it. Hey, we're here. It's America. It's a public event. And then at one of the events, another mosque thing, a bunch of the cops came over, all the Muslim police. What are you guys doing? Why are you guys against us? All that kind of conversation. And we had a good conversation with them.
Islamophobe.
Yeah. All right. We gotta move on to our third and final guest. Why don't you tell everybody how they can reach us and do all that stuff? And I gotta get a sip of agua.
Okay, if you want to, if you have questions, comments, suggestions, complaints, or if you want to donate securely, you can contact Tom at the
We still doing the
United
donation
West.
thing?
Yes.
Yes.
We don't give up on that.
No.
Can I say that again? Please donate securely. It's the end of the year. You'd get a nice little tax deduction. We have a lot of bookkeeping that we have to sort out before January 1st, and it would really, really, really help us out. We really would appreciate it. Every little bit helps. Every lot of bit helps more.
Yes.
Donate securely at theunitedwest.org. And please write to Tom and tell us what you love about our show, about his show, about the work he does, we do.
We're a team. One team, one
Tom
fight.
at theunitedwest.org or Tom at TrentoVision.tv.
Whatever one's in your
And
computer.
he shares
Right.
his favorite letters with us, so we really do like to get
And all
the mail.
the bad letters, sometimes I share those too, but I don't want to
Yeah,
scare
you do.
anybody with those.
Yeah.
So, all right, we're having a wonderful time at 50 minutes after the hour. And the hour on the east coast of Florida, or the east coast of the United States, in which the state of Florida has resides for quite some time, is 3 o'clock. And Jimmy Bond was over in California. So what time is it there?
Well, right now it's 10 to 1.
No, in California.
California?
In California,
10 to
it's
1.
10 to 1 because
Is
it's
it
10
10 to
to 4
1?
here.
Yes, 10 to 1. What time is it in Wichita, Kansas?
There we go.
2 hours difference there?
Anybody know what time it is in Wichita, Kansas?
1 hour earlier.
1 hour earlier, Central Times.
1 hour.
it's
Central?
1 hour.
2:48ish, 2:49ish, right now.
Do we have our
Two-
Wichita,
it's
Kansas?
2:50.
Oh, we most certainly do.
All right. Well, here's what we're doing next, folks. First part of the show, if you're just tuning in, jumping in your car, running off to the malls or work or wherever, and just tuning in on TrentoVision.tv, theunitedwest.org, we had the renowned Andrew McCarthy, former prosecutor, federal prosecutor, Southern District of New York. He put the blind Sheikh Abdul Rahman, he put him in jail around 93, 94. He was responsible for blowing up the World Trade Center #1, 1993 February. Andy put that guy in jail, and then went on an amazing career. We had Andy on, a fascinating article he wrote, kind of saying don't use rose-colored glasses when looking at Mandela on National Review. Second segment of our show, we went to Jimmy Bond, some kind of relative to James Bond, and Jimmy did some infiltration. Actually, he didn't infiltrate. He went into the MPAC event
as a participant.
As a participant, but
Overt infiltration.
But somebody, I don't know if it was him, videotaped some of the key events and got us some of the footage, and we'll show that in the future. And sometimes that's what we do around here. This third segment is from a good friend of ours who resides in the good state of Kansas, where Kathleen Sebelius was just the best governor a state could ever have,
Yes,
and the best head of
Just
Health
the
and Human
best.
Services anyone could ever have.
You're killing it,
And the
guys.
crowd goes wild.
You're killing me out.
And Kirk S., we're not going to give you his last name, so you don't have to use it. Kirk S. Was with us where?
In Israel.
In Israel, right?
Yeah.
So we had a great time there. He's been doing a lot of work on the jihad issue. And you had a little trouble, Kirk, in your backyard.
Kurt or Kurt?
Kirk.
Kirk?
Like captain.
Yeah, Captain. Yeah.
You had a little trouble in your backyard up there this past couple of days ago. Tell us what's going on.
Yes, we did. Friday the 13th. In fact, we just narrowly dodged a bombing at the airport at Wichita. FBI arrested a local man there who was, in fact, a Muslim convert, and charged him with 3 counts, including attempting to use a weapon of mass destruction and to damage property and persons in those charges. He was arraigned on Friday afternoon. Terry Lowen was the man's name, and he's 58-year-old, just a regular guy, avionics technician, worked at the airport for several years.
And just popped up, huh?
He, according to the FBI document that they released, he was quote-unquote self-radicalized, which is a term that
Damn, I hate when that happens.
yeah. You never know when that's going to happen.
I know. It's terrible.
Good grief.
But
How did he?
I think Mr. Lowen was actually the epitome of the definition of a fundamentalist, which embodies the fundamentalist embodies the core values of Islam.
Yes, CJ, you had a question?
I don't know. I think the fellow must have been misinterpreting Islam,
probably
and
was-
that's why he
Yeah.
wants
It's hijacking.
That's why he
Right.
wants to bomb planes.
So we just had
And that's what most of the local papers are out saying at this point.
That's
is
right.
That he did all this on his own. He was kind of a lone wolf, and that we should not hold the Islamic community responsible in any way, manner, shape, or form.
It's like that. You've seen people like self-combust in the flames. You've seen
Spontaneous
combustion.
Spontaneous.
It's kind of
Spontaneous,
it's kind of the same thing when it comes to Islam, because there's no other external forces. I'm sure he didn't go to a mosque. I'm sure he didn't read any of the doctrine. I'm sure he didn't go online and look at any type of a. I'm sure because it's just it's spontaneous.
No, clearly, Mark,
It's clearly
what happened,
spontaneous.
What happened was he was studying on his own
Right.
without the proper,
right.
Proper
mosque
supervision.
guidance, without consulting his local television station, whose anchors, I'm sure, are experts in Islam.
Exactly.
And therefore he came to the wrong conclusions,
Right.
and therefore he decided that he wanted to do acts of jihad in the United States.
Since he's white, does that mean that we're not racist anymore? That we're still criticizing?
No, you
him?
are still racist.
Oh, okay. Just checking. I didn't know.
So, Kirk, Kansas, I mean, every once in a while we're seeing stuff percolating on the jihad issue.
ALAC.
Yeah, what is the... Yeah, you guys have American laws for American...
Yeah.
What the heck is that on the screen? 2 jihadis, ladies and gentlemen.
We've busted you in your Arab headdress, and just letting you know, you are a plant.
Oh, you got the picture up there.
Yeah, folks, you got to see this. You got to see this picture. Put it back up for the viewers.
Yeah, if you're listening in the car or you're listening in the kitchen to the radio, go to the archives later today, youtube.com/theunitedwest at about 55 minutes after the hour.
We have two Saudi insurgents somewhere on the right-hand side.
That is a great.
Our own
in Jordan of all places.
And Kirk is on
busted him in Jordan because it's standing right in front of the Petra Cafe. If you can read this,
we were all in Petra, and they have their headdress on, and they, actually that day it was very, very hot, and for these whiteys, I have Arab in me. At least that's what my Arab friends tell me. I have Jewish in me too. At least my Jewish friends tell me that. And I have Greek in me because my Greek friend. I got a little mixture of
you're Italian. You're the crossroads of the universe.
But for all the whiteys, for Kirk, the whitey from Kansas, and Mark from Kansas too, their faces were like glowing red, and the locals said, "You better put something on your head
before I lop it off."
That's your 4-wheeler.
What is the jihad factor in the good state of Kansas? By the way, what's the state bird in Kansas?
The state bird is actually the meadowlark. It is not the jayhawk.
That is not right.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, it is not the jayhawk. In fact, we don't speak too much about jayhawks in our house here. We're kind of wildcat people around here.
That's that other Kansas team.
That's Kansas State, by the way.
That's the other part of Kansas.
But,
what's the jihad factor in the state of Kansas?
It's pretty much the culture jihad is continuing pretty much unabated. The universities, of course, are fraught with culture jihad, stealth jihad, whatever you want to call it. And the problem that we have out here in the Middle West is because, especially in Kansas, but it's a Midwest value in total, the people are just very American out here. We're very accepting, very open,
Tolerant.
You do your thing, I'll do my thing, and if you don't bother me, I'll let you do whatever you want, pretty much. And so, there is an ignorance factor to Islam, and, that's kind of what we do. We try to alleviate that ignorance factor.
You can never alleviate the ignorance from Islam.
Hey, Kirk, we're coming down to the end here. Tell everybody your website so they can contact you, and then give us about a 15-second closing thought.
Yeah, it's definingthenarrative.com, website that I started a few years ago. I write about various things, but mostly focused on Islam and the jihad, the counter jihad, and the Islamic colonization of the United States, which is actually what we're experiencing. And it's a very real problem out here as well as it is there. In Florida, I kind of keep up with you guys a little bit, but our counter jihad crew out here is pretty slim, and we had 3 of us on our Israeli trip, and actually Lisa was the one that tipped me off about this press conference last Friday on the arrest on this guy. And so I was sure to be back at the house then to be able to keep up with that story as it progressed.
All right. Hey, thank you. The third person was Representative Peggy Mast from Kansas, who was with us. Kirk, we're going to let you go because we only have a few seconds left. We will check in with you on a not too regular basis, okay?
Right.
All right. Thank you.
See you later, man.
Thank you,
Merry
Fox.
Christmas, Kirk.
All right, CJ, I'm giving you the last word here on Monday the 16th. Take us out.
Monday the 16th. Thank you for tuning in. Tune in tomorrow where Tom will do some fabulous things, and so will the fabulous Bunker Boys.
Origami. We do some origami stuff.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank
bye,
you.
everybody.
Bye-bye.
We'll see you. Bye-bye.